All right. Thank you everyone for coming. My name is Mia Jeremiah. I am a member of FRC 2468, Team Appreciate. And here we have Chaps for Change with us. They're going to introduce themselves, but they're an organization here at Westlake that really pushes for opening discussion about social issues with teenagers and students. So I'm very grateful to have them here today.
Hi everyone, my name's Siona. I'm one of the leaders of Shops for Change along with Kaveri and Sanaya and Zoya, who aren't able to be with us tonight, but they are here in spirit. Shops for Change is an organization that is trying to encourage students to get involved with current issues through discussions and community projects. And we'll talk more about those later on in the conversation.
Kaveri, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi guys, I'm Kaveri, and I'm also a co-president or leader of Shops for Change.
Perfect. Thank you both for coming. So today's topic, we're going to talk about heritage. April is Arab American Heritage Month. May is Asian American Heritage Month. A few months ago, we had Black History Month. So there's all these different culture months, and we're going to talk a little bit about the significance of those and what exactly culture and heritage is. So I'm just going to jump right in. My first question for you two is, what is the definition of heritage? What are some examples of the tangible, intangible, and the natural?
So I think heritage is just how you practice cultural traditions and how your ancestors practice cultural traditions and how you choose to carry them forward to the generations that follow you. And I think it can come in physical items. I know like clothing and jewelry gets passed down in my family, and those are really sacred to us. But they can also be passed down in like traditions or practices or festivals or really anything.
Yeah, I agree. To me, heritage is the culmination of like cultural practices that give an ethnic group their identity. And like Kaveri said, there's a lot of different ways that these can be passed down through physical items, as well as like stories and traditions and history that gives an ethnic group their identity and gives people their heritage.
Awesome. Yeah, I really like how y'all explained how kind of heritage has a different meaning for everyone. We all have different cultures. I know with Team Appreciate, we really like to talk about where each of us are coming from, different perspectives, because that's really important to understand how to hold conversations with each other and work with each other in a team like we do. So our next question, how does heritage develop in an individual? How does social context affect personal perception of heritage?
I think, as we mentioned before, heritage can definitely be passed on through traditions, but it doesn't have to be passed on through family. I think it can also be developed on your own and learned on your own. Like, if you feel disconnected from your culture, there are many ways that you can immerse yourself within it and connect yourself with your culture from, like, I don't know, listening to the music and viewing art that may like talk about the history of your culture or there's a lot of like different events that go on, especially in Austin. There's a lot of different cultures represented, and there's a lot of different ways to celebrate those cultures. Personally, I've had a bit of a difficult time trying to identify with my heritage because I'm the child of immigrants. So my parents came from a different country. And so it's been a little bit of a struggle trying to pacify that culture with the culture that is here. But I think that's what really defines my heritage, that I'm not only Indian, but I'm also an Indian born in America. So it kind of changes my heritage a bit.
Yeah, and kind of piggybacking off of that, I think social context definitely significantly affects how you practice your or how you perceive your heritage. I think being around people, and I'm taking it more of an ethnic view than like you growing up in a certain social genre. But ethnically speaking, when you grow up around people who are practicing the same traditions as you and who celebrate the same holidays as you and stuff like that, I think it's a lot easier to like accept your heritage. But when you're around people who don't necessarily share the same culture as you, it might be harder to accept as a part of your own like being. But the opposite could also be true, where it's a certain aspect of you that makes you unique, and that's what people and I think that's what really makes heritage special, is that it's like it kind of is unique to everyone, and kind of like what Siona was saying is that she feels like she identifies with an Indian heritage as well as an American heritage, which I think that's really great because it's truly never like the same for everyone. It can be different depending where you're from and where your parents are from and just who you think you are.
Uh-huh. Perfect. Thank you, guys. Our next question. So, what are some of the ways people from Chaps for Change are making a difference in inclusivity, and what advice would you give for students who want to make a change in their community?
Okay, my favorite thing about Chaps for Change is our monthly discussion meetings. If you don't already know, C4C has these discussion meetings where we discuss different current events at the time. So we had a discussion about SB8, which was an abortion bill that was passed in Texas, or discussed in Texas a couple months ago. We also had a discussion about the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And I love these meetings because it really allows me to diversify my own opinions, and it forces me to open up my own perspective and getting other people's opinions on the topic, as well as building onto my own opinions. And I think it's just the way we hold these meetings is really great because I feel like we try to make as inclusive as an environment to everyone, where you're just allowed to speak your truth, basically free from judgment. And I really enjoy that about our meetings.
Same. I really love these meetings. They're one of the main parts of our club, and they really encourage everybody to share their thoughts and opinions on everything that is happening right now, and in a place that is free from judgment. I also love how passionate our students are, especially on the diversity, equity, and inclusion front, and how involved they are within the community. We've had students attend several of the DEI community conversations that the district has been hosting. We've had students get involved with school board elections that were taking place last year, volunteering with different campaigns. And we've had students help us start our Jedi Council, which stands for Justice, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. The goal of the Jedi Council is to bring more cultural awareness to Westlake. And we do this by recognizing different cultures and celebrating them. Uh, we just finished a project to celebrate Black History Month, and to do that, we compiled a list of our favorite movies and songs and artists, as well as restaurants and local businesses from people of African American origin, and we made a presentation that we have put up on the board in the Commons near the language hall. Go, shameless plug, go check that out if you haven't already. And it's a really fun way to start celebrating Black heritage. And we hope to do this in a number of ways for all of the different heritage months. We are hoping to do a speaker series in May for Asian American Pacific Islander Month, so definitely follow our Instagram at Chaps for Change to check out more about that. But yeah, I think that our students are just really good at finding a way to involve themselves in issues that are prevalent in our community. So if were to give any advice to students who want to make a change in their community, I would definitely say to find a way to involve yourself in any medium that you can and any medium that works for you. That could be reading about the board election coming up or volunteering to be a part of the campaign for one of the candidates who you agree with, or maybe signing up for one of the DEI community discussions that are open to all students. There are a bunch of different ways to make change in our community. You just really need to find the way that's right for you.
I totally agree. I've actually went to one of their community discussions. It was awesome. I really enjoyed it. So y'all should definitely try and participate in that at some point. At the end of the meeting, I'll let them put in their Instagram and all their socials so you guys can have that. Yeah, and I think it's awesome that you guys try and include all these diverse perspectives, because that's really the thing that keeps this conversation going. Like, developing your heritage, as you guys mentioned, does not come from one thing. It's from hearing all these different stories, different perspectives, the experiences you gain, and that can only happen through conversation. So that's awesome. Okay, so our next question. What is the significance of denoting a month to nationally celebrate a culture, and how can we as educational clubs work toward including these voices year round?
I definitely think that it's great that we have different months to honor different cultures, especially in the US where we have so many different people from so many different places. Just having different months devoted to honoring those people's cultures and traditions is, I think, a great way to shine light on their backgrounds and especially on a national level. I definitely think as club leaders, a great way to celebrate different people of different backgrounds is just by, even like if it's like a presentation at the beginning of the month, just on how people celebrate their culture, or maybe just a simple reminder that it is like AAPI month or Arab Heritage Month or something like that is a great way to shine light on those people's cultures. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that specifying specific months to celebrate different cultures are really great because they encourage people who might be from a different culture to learn more about a culture that's not their own. And I, like Kabir was saying, I think it's a really great way to celebrate the multiculturalism that is a really important part of our society. Um, and in terms of how we as clubs can include these voices year round, I think that these months are a great structure for our clubs to increase cultural awareness because they give us a specific time and place to celebrate different cultures. But I definitely think that we can go beyond that and we don't have to limit cultural awareness and cultural celebration to these times. And I think that it's really important for us as clubs to find a way to bring light to different cultures in a way that is relevant to our club, like how we as Chaps for Change are doing with our Jedi Council, and like this, the stories in STEM. I think finding ways to incorporate cultural awareness into the work that we're doing is really the best way to include these voices.
So yeah, I agree. Okay, I'll just jump into the next question because it kind of builds off of that question. So during National Heritage Months, what responsibility do those outside of the celebrated culture have?
I think that people outside of the celebrated culture have a responsibility to educate themselves about the culture in whatever capacity that interests them. There's so many different ways to connect with and communicate with different cultures. It could be through watching movies or eating food from that culture or listening to music from that culture. And I think there's a lot of ways that we as a community can come together to celebrate culture by supporting local businesses and celebrating or speaking with people in our community that are from that celebrated culture. There are so many different ways that we can learn about other cultures. I think we just need to find the way that interests us the most.
Yeah, I completely agree with Siona. I mean, like learning about different cultures doesn't even have to be like boring. It can be a way of exposing yourself to so many different activities, foods, music, and everything else that she said. Like it doesn't have to be something that you're like trying to like, I don't know, force yourself to do. You can make it fun too, especially in Austin where we have so many different types of people from so many different backgrounds. So
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think the best responsibility for anyone who's not the celebrated culture of a culture month is to just learn as much as you can, understand the perspectives of your peers. That's really important to developing your own heritage and your own kind of outlook on life. We're actually at our last question. So if there was only one thing that you would hope the audience today do as a result of our conversation, what would it be? So just any advice or little tidbits you guys have for the audience.
I think on the culture front, one thing I would hope that people do is to pick one day or one way to get immersed in a culture and maybe do that for all of the different heritage months. It could be something small like trying out a new restaurant that serves food from that culture one day every one of the heritage months, or watching a movie or supporting a local business. There's like so many different ways, but I think it's really important for us to go out of our comfort zone and try something new. And yeah, it might encourage you to become more accepting and knowledgeable and conscious of different cultural differences. And I think it will really bring our community and society together.
I completely agree again. And I think another way you can get involved is just by having conversations with your friends, just like talking about their culture or whatever. If you want to learn, like just having an interest in it is a great way to get started. I know at Westlake we have so many different clubs that you could probably join and just talk about different things surrounding DEI and culture and heritage in general. Um, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I know we have some of the culture clubs here with us today. We have Latin Club and Muslim Student Association and Hispanic Club, I'm pretty sure. So it's awesome. We can really form this one community out of all these different groups. Yeah. Okay, so now I'll just open it up to questions from the audience. If anyone has any additional questions for our guests, you can put them in the chat if you have any questions.
I'd also like to take a quick moment and talk about an event that we as Shops for Change are doing next week. We are planning an Earth Week to bring awareness to sustainability within our everyday lives, because next Friday, April 22nd, is actually Earth Day. So on Monday and Tuesday, we will be having different games and interactive activities in the Shap Court Commons and NGC to encourage you students to try something new within sustainability and try to find a way to be more sustainable in your everyday lives and clear up some common misconceptions that people have about sustainability. So definitely look out for that. And also on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we are having a thrift exchange to encourage sustainability in shopping. And boys, this is not just for girls, this is for boys too. But for this, we need students to donate any clothes that don't fit them anymore, or that they don't like anymore and they've just been trying to get rid of for a while. We have bins in the Shapcourt Commons and NGC as well to collect these clothes, and so we can do a giant school-wide thrift exchange. This exchange will be taking place in the Shap Court courtyard during both of the lunches. And we'll have all of the clothes that have been donated available for purchase, and all of the proceeds will go to a local sustainability charity that we have decided to work with called Eco Rise, which encourages sustainability within schools. And hopefully we'll be working with them on a project soon. So if If you guys have any clothes
Hey,
lying around, please donate.
I actually am. Okay.
But yeah, okay.
Perfect. Yeah, you guys can, okay, so is there any place we can find out about events like this? Do you guys have an answer for that?
Like the thrift exchange? I'm not exactly sure. Well, if you're talking about cultural events, then there's a lot of like blogs that you can find out about different cultural events that are going on. I think Do 512 has some stuff. And there are a lot of different cultural groups and organizations within Austin that hold their own events. So you could look those up to find stuff about that. But yeah, okay. I'm guessing that's what you were talking about because that's what. Okay, cool. Kaveri, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
All right. I don't.
And if you want to find out about more stories in STEM events, robotics advertises it through Student Council and NHS and different clubs around Westlake, and also with the FRC robotics community through Instagram. So, okay. I actually have a question for you guys. It's kind of a curveball, I guess, because I didn't give it to you beforehand. But okay, so I know that some heritages have kind of been like blurred, or I guess altered, like the perception of their heritage has been altered in America as a result of different like current events or just things that have happened recently. So what would you guys say, what would be your advice for people in that heritage to connect to their kind of cultural roots when their heritage may not have like the best positive connotation at the time?
I think other people's opinion on your heritage shouldn't affect how you practice it, because at the end of the day, it's a part of your identity. And if you want to identify that way, then that's you do you, you know? But I definitely think for the people who look upon a certain culture a certain way or something, I'd encourage you to just listen to the other person's perspective and encourage dialogue. I know I was at one of the community discussions that we were talking about earlier today, and one of the big things was just opening up dialogue. You know, being able to and just being able to understand where someone else is coming from, I think is a great way to just to improve empathy.
Yeah, definitely. I think that while we say, oh, don't let other people's opinions on you affect you, while we say that, it is sometimes easier said than done. So I would say that finding a way or an extent to which you want to connect with your culture, or a different way that you connect with your culture that makes you feel connected, but maybe um, doesn't um, offend the people around you, would be one way to do it. But I think also, like Kaveri was saying, for the people who are giving opinions on the other culture, just be open to dialogue. Also, what some people in a culture's what some people in a culture is are doing doesn't speak for everybody within that culture. So I think being cognizant of that, and being cognizant of the fact that a culture doesn't define a person, is really important in having these intercultural communication.
And I definitely think that goes back to like heritage is truly individual to each person. It doesn't have to be something that encompasses a group of people. It can be that if you want it to, but it can also be just individual to you.
I completely agree. And I'd say for anyone within the heritage that kind of feels maybe insecure about their history or their family history or their heritage, I'd say seek out your people in your heritage, hear their stories instead of kind of getting your perception of your heritage from other people who may not be a part of it. It's really a personal thing that some people may not fully understand if they're not in your position. So I'd say really seek out those people that have that cultural connection with you. Okay, I got another question privately chatted. So it says, why is it so important to talk about EDI, sorry, within STEM?
I think that it's really important to talk about DEI in STEM because we all have a lot of built-in stereotypes and assumptions about people who may or may not succeed in STEM. And I think that we're in 2022, y'all. Like, we don't need to define ourselves by what cultures in the past have done. Like, we can move beyond that and make STEM a place where everybody can succeed, and make it not limited to just like one group of people. Yeah. Do you have anything to add, Carrie?
I was just gonna say when people say DEI, I feel like while diversity and equity are they're so prominent in society, we need diversity and equity, but also inclusion, like just including everyone in STEM, whether it be women or just anyone in general. It's just being inclusive. I think that overall ideology of accepting everyone, no matter what they believe or what they just
Identify.
believe, yeah, identify as, like, you accept them for who they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really think that applies to every atmosphere and every situation where you have to communicate with other people, because in order to communicate with people, you need to be able to understand that what happens on the outside, what they look like, or maybe where they come from, does not affect what they can do or their potential, where they can go with it, I guess. If anyone else in the audience has any other questions, you can just put it in the chat. Siona and Kaveri, if you want to put your socials in the chat right now, that'd be perfect.
I got that. Okay.
Here. We also, through our Jedi Council and kind of as a club, we try to bring attention to different, going back to like a question we got earlier, different like events and like different things that you can do to celebrate different months. So that is one way to connect with that, and you can do that through our Instagram. But we can also put our email in the chat. And if you have anything that you'd like to see brought attention to on our Instagram, we'd love to hear from you guys. And if there are any like projects that you're interested in starting at Westlake, please come to us, and we'd love to help you in any way carry those projects out. You can do it through the club, or we can lend any resources that we might have to help you do that. But definitely contact us through the email or attend our meetings. We have meetings in Mr. Gonzalez's room 201, every Thursday for this year. So yeah, we are willing to, or eager to communicate with you guys. So please reach out if you have anything you'd like to say.
Perfect. Thank you for that. We might end out a little early. We can wait maybe about 10 more minutes for questions. I actually have a question for you guys. Another question. I'm just curious, like, does Chaps for Change do any kind of like team building exercises or things? Like, how do you guys like introduce your topics with like in the beginning of these discussions, but also like even in you guys's like own meetings, I guess? Like, how do you jump into the topic of EDI and all this stuff? Because I know it is a very like difficult conversation to have sometimes.
Yeah, it definitely can be. We with our discussion meetings, we try to be pretty specific about what topic we're doing, so we can kind of like guide the discussion that way, and we can kind of get like the conversation going that way. But then we really like open it up to all the students to take the conversation in whatever way they want to, whatever way that interests them. We like to have like a portion of the meeting at the beginning where we try to get everybody to talk, and then um, like through discussion questions that we've made, and then we really open it up to students to take the conversation in whatever way that they would like to. Um, yeah, that's on the discussion front. But then for projects and stuff, we like to decide on like a general theme of what kind of change we want to make um, at the beginning of the year, or what like aspect of social issue that we want to address through our projects. And it's really, really open to students to come up with ideas. We try in the beginning, we have students reach out to us with all the ideas of potential projects that they would be interested in implementing at Westlake. And from there, we try to find a realistic way to implement some of those projects, whether that might be by combining them, or putting them on a larger scale or smaller scale in some cases. But yeah, we really try to make it open to the students so that it's a community of people who really want to be there and want to implement change. And that's kind of how we build the team, by doing projects that everybody has a say in and that everybody's interested in.
And I kind of also want to add on to that, especially for our discussion meetings, we always preface by saying that we want to create an environment where there's no judgment, where you will accept other people's opinions, whether you agree with them or not. And I think just creating that environment where people can empathize with each other to the furthest extent that they can is a great way to create an environment where you can talk about DEI and not feel free and not feel like you're shackled by other people's opinions. And I really like this James Baldwin quote that Gooden keeps on. Dr. Gooden is our DEI consultant at Eanes. And I really like this quote that he has of him. And I feel like it goes something like, just you can be accepting of other people's opinions unless those opinions are Sienna, can you finish it for me?
I think it's girl, I wasn't there today.
It's funny, I remember exactly which quote you're talking about from that one discussion I went to.
Do you remember how it went?
It was like unless it's like encroaching on your own like yes. heritage or culture.
We can disagree and still love each other unless agreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and right to exist. And I really like that quote.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think with robotics, we really focus on activities that are more team building within the robotics team. I really hope that we can kind of build outward. I think with things like this, stories in STEM, it is building outward. But like, as you guys said, kind of attacking issues in the community. But yeah, we do like bi-weekly team culture meetings where we do an activity that's more like show than tell, I guess, introducing a topic that we want to talk about. And then we all come together and discuss about it, discuss our own perspectives, what we experienced during the activity, things like that. So I think that's really helped with kind of the collaboration within the team, being more comfortable, talking about our own experiences and things we'd like to see in the future. So, I got another question in the chat. So what's the difference between heritage and nationality?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I think nationality is more what country, okay, so for me personally, my ethnicity would be Indian, my nationality would be American. So American, my nationality is where I currently live, I think, or where maybe you grew up. And then heritage is more your culture and the cultural practices that your my like grandma and my grandpa have practiced for their entire lives and how that gets passed down generations. So I think heritage is more of just like your, I feel like heritage almost more closely associates with your ethnicity than it does nationality in a way. But I also think you can create a heritage out of where you live. Um, yeah, do you have anything to add on, Tiana?
Yeah, I think it's heritage. I mean, nationality can be a part of heritage, but yeah, definitely nationality is more like where you were born, where you grew up, and heritage can be like all of the different cultures that you identify with, and your nationality can contribute to your heritage. It can be a culture that makes up your heritage, but there is a distinction between them.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I think your heritage can be built on your nationality because it's where you live is definitely a big part of how you feel about yourself and your culture and your experiences. So I think you guys answered it perfectly. Thank you. We can probably wrap up. We can wrap up in around 2 minutes if there's no more questions. Okay, I think we can wrap up. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you everyone in the audience for coming. Hopefully we can do something like this again in the near future. I'm going to be helping you all out with your thrift thing, and everyone in the audience should definitely go check that out. Yeah, I think that's it. If you guys, you and Siona and Kaveri, if you guys don't have any questions for me, I think we're good.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having us. We really enjoyed getting to talk to you about this and getting to work with robotics. So thanks for reaching out.
Thank y'all for coming too.
Yeah, that too.